I'm more of a Steam achievement hunter than PS achievements. I think one of the games I dropped was Dark Souls, but I simply... Wait, what? But simply because I just suck at Souls-like games. Well, this is a Souls-like game, so do you suck at this game? Although this one is definitely much more action-focused, I guess you could say. I do have to say though, when it comes to me and my enjoyment of these action games or Souls-like games, I actually prefer action games nowadays more than Souls-likes. The thing with Souls-likes is that, like, there's fundamentally this this thing that I enjoy more, which is expression. And with Souls-like games, there is less expression in combat and when you fight enemies. It's more so the game itself is more demanding, and you have to rise up to the demand of the game itself, like the fundamental like requirement of skill that the game requires from you to defeat certain enemies and certain bosses and that kind of stuff. But I enjoy the expression aspect more nowadays. So something like Lies of P, for example, would be a good example of a game where I would probably enjoy that game less than some kind of action game with like a combo system, for example, like this game does, while also having a good amount of challenge at the same time if you seek for it. Because something like Lies of P it's demanding a certain amount of skill from the player to overcome, you know, the game and most parts of it. It's not so much, you know, the game is just, you know, challenging you a bit, and then you get to also express yourself. But it's more so the game is just already heavily demanding, and then when you get really, really good at the game, then at that point you can start to express your own skill or playstyle a bit more. But you have to first, like, always be on the bottom tier level that the game is requesting from you before you can actually do that. And with some games like Lies of P, for example, or I guess Nioh would be another good example of that, Nioh 1 or Nioh 2. Like, it just takes such a long amount of time to get to the point where you can feel like you can express yourself rather than, you know, meet the core challenge of the game, the base skill level that you have to have before you get to have more fun in the game. I guess Stellar Blade can also be a lot the same if you... I mean, if you play anywhere nearby the same way I do, which is like literally nobody online that I have ever seen, if you play something like this, the reason as to why I'm able to play like this is because I already have I have such a good amount of experience playing this game already. And then I'm already also mechanically usually gifted in these games on top of that. And then there's of course the, you know, practice aspect of it, and then there's the intuition aspect of it, and the knowledge and the experience from the other games that are similar. All of that combined together, and, you know, it's much more easy for me to, you know, play something like this and then express like the nuanced gameplay mechanics in a game like this than compared to something like Lies of P or Nioh, where it's like the game is so much more suffocating and so much more demanding of your skill level that you don't have enough time to, you know, or you don't have enough time or enough drive to want to express your own like individuality, I guess, with your playstyle as you can with games that are a bit more looser with their demand, like Stellar Blade is. It's too late, we can't go back, it's all my fault, I messed up everything. No. Also, God of Wars are a great example of this too. Particularly the two new God of Wars. God of War 28 and God of War Ragnarok are great examples of two games where the demand from what you fight in those games is not necessarily that high, but the amount of expressiveness that there is in those games as combat, with the animation cancelling and just the normal combat in itself, without even any animation cancelling, is already incredibly in-depth, satisfying, and very fulfilling, and takes a lot of practice to get good at. But the actual like demand from the types of enemies you fight and the bosses and the encounters, both in the side game like elements as well as the story elements of the game, they are typically not that demanding, but you can make them a lot more demanding by just, you know, expressing your own playstyle by making the game intentionally more harder than it has to be, you know? Which is what I'm doing here in Stellar Blade, of course. I mean, that's the reason as to why I'm doing base Blood Edge damage run. You actually see the damage here on the Blood Edge. 450 attack power. I am missing 9 levels on the Blood Edge already. And Blood Edge is Eve's sword's name, is Blood Edge, in case you're curious. It also affects her drone railgun damage, which is something that I have never seen anybody talk about, because nobody seems to be aware of this thing. Yeah. Even if you seek like Wikipedias or something for Stellar Blade, nobody actually tells you that leveling Eve's sword also impacts the drone railgun's damage output. It is something nobody knows about. Well, besides me, of course. So not only do I do a lot less damage with the sword, but I also do a lot less damage from shooting enemies too. So cheesing them with the stuns and the damage from the drone railgun is also not as good.